Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty serious show for you guys here today that we definitely want you guys to hang around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me get into this topic here. This Ja Morant situation is multi-layered, and I think there are a lot of lessons we can glean for this particular situation that we have here. Just yesterday, I was watching a clip from ESPN, and it was on their NBA countdown crew. It was featuring Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Greenberg, and Jalen Rose, right? And that particular, and the gentlemen were discussing the information that had just been released in terms of Ja Morant being available for the Memphis Grizzlies by March 20th after he served his 8-game suspension. Then the fact that he only has 2 more games to serve, given the fact that he's already missed 6 games already. So he's serving a total of 8 games for his suspension. And they were asking the panel to kind of weigh in on what they thought about that information and his return, because Ja Morant is going to be returning much sooner than a lot of people would have anticipated. And when it came time for Stephen A. Smith to give his point of views, he stated where he stood on the matter. Jalen Rose also weighed in and gave his 2 cents. But then when it came time for Michael Wilbon to touch on the topic, in my personal view, I believed he delivered one of the most powerful messages that I've heard on this situation since the story broke. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what Michael Wilbon had to say here. It's a bit lengthy, but I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety, and then we're going to come back and really unpack this topic. Take a listen to what he had to say there.
And Michael Wilbon again is with us from Arizona tonight. Michael, as you listen to Ja's conversation there with Jalen, what thoughts went through your mind?
Well, first of all, kudos to Jalen for getting him to sit and talk about this, and for us to be able to hear it. I'm going to be a little harsh. I got to hear more than the expression of contrition. And by the way, everything everybody said so far, I hear you. I agree with that, because you got to start there. But there better be a real turn in behavior right now. Right now. No more promises. I mean, we've seen a ton of athletes, entertainers, politicians. They can promise, they can express contrition. But what's the behavior like? Is Ja Morant ready to tell people, get out of my life? You're out. You're done now. I've got to take hold of this. Do you realize the money we just talked about with the launch of a soft drink that ain't out this week? The launch of a new sneaker from Nike that ain't out this week. I know, because I told my son, who's 14, and he's one of the people in this generation to whom Ja Morant is like a Pied Piper. No, you can't have those shoes. You're not getting those. We're going to figure out what is going on here with Ja Morant. So if I'm just one guy telling his kid that, what do you think this cost him? We heard about Woj saying it cost him $700,000 in salary. How about the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in the soft drink launch and the shoe launch? Really, if it's just that selfish, you need to change your behavior, and it's not that selfish. You represent so many other interests, and part of that is your own with safety. You did something that could have been much more dangerous to your health and risky. What are you going to do besides express contrition? And are the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA, yes, are they willing to support him at that age? Look, anybody knows you walk into the commissioner's office, whether it's David Stern, who was much more the hanging judge, or his successor, Adam Silver, who's done a fine job in this league, regardless of who's sitting there. You're going to express contrition. Now what? What was he going to do? Roll in and say, hey, I'm here, Adam. What we doing today? What we talking about? No. He started at ground zero. Now what? This is on him. It's on the people close to him. It may be on people who need to be a whole lot tougher to say, I'm not your friend today. I'm in your face. And Ja Morant's not the only one. We've all been there. Everybody on that set has been there. I've been there 23, 24 years old when you needed to be better. It's time for Ja Morant to be better, right? I'm not talking about basketball. He's great. We already know that. He's first team All-NBA. What about his life? You see what's happened in Georgia and Alabama We've seen what's going on when young people are not marshaled in the proper direction and made to be accountable and responsible and maybe even fearful.
So you heard Michael Wilbon's comments. To me, I am very, very happy that Michael Wilbon took the approach that he took. I haven't heard really anyone in big media take this particular approach, probably with the exception of Shannon Sharpe, right? I think what Michael Wilbon said was absolutely powerful for a number of reasons. Number one, he spoke about the realities that surround this particular situation. He talked about it from a monetary standpoint, how it could potentially affect Ja Morant, how it could affect other companies that are annexed, connected to Ja Morant. He spoke about it from that aspect. He spoke about it from an aspect of a parent, of a father, who I believe he said his 14-year-old wanted a pair of Ja's shoes, and he told him no. And if him, as a parent, is taking that position, imagine all the other people that are going to be taking that same position and how it could have a bigger impact on him. He spoke about the issue from a security standpoint. I'm assuming for what he did in the video, and also for his own personal security. He spoke about it from a personal responsibility standpoint, but most importantly, he spoke about it from a tough love standpoint. Now, I know a decent amount of gentlemen are not going to agree with me, and that just means we're not going to agree. It just means that we're not going to agree. Maybe this is not the messaging that you're looking for, but you're not going to get the hug it up and give me a hug, give me a kiss. I'm just not going to do it for you, because I've noticed that a lot of guys love to baby young guys. They really get a kick out of it, and they get upset when other men don't do the same thing with them. If you want to baby these guys, have at it. Have at it. Just as long as you don't expect other people to go along with you, because not all men are against giving tough love, and not all young men, let me say this, are against receiving tough love. I think we need to say that. I need to say that one more time. Not all men are against giving tough love, and not all young men are against receiving it. Some young men have thick enough skin to handle it. They do. And I want to give you guys a personal story. Okay, I want to relate it back to myself here, and maybe some of you guys watching the show, maybe dads, sons, whomever, daughters, even whoever, mothers may relate to this particular situation here. I must have been in my early 20s, maybe 22, probably around the same age as Ja Morant, maybe 22, 23 or something like that, 24. And at that point in my life, I was still trying to figure it out, like most young men are, right? I didn't have the traditional path all the way to, whatever it is that I'm doing now, right? I took my own path, which is everybody has their own road that they travel. So at that time in my life, I remember we were like on a family get together, vacation or whatever. And I thought that I was doing something in my life. I felt like I was going somewhere, right? I felt like, okay, I was on my way. When you have the feeling like, well, it's going to happen. Are you really putting forth the effort? Not really, but you just believe that it's going to happen. I was in that kind of space, right? And then I remember speaking to my dad, who got the most tough love from his dad. I mean, oh my God. Not in a bad way, but you want anything, you got to go make it. You got to go get it yourself. You got to go get it yourself. Period. End of story. And as an aside, I remember one day we were on a family vacation and we went to LA. And I was looking at, I forgot where I was in LA, by that mall. That mall, they had this mall in the movie from Crazy Stupid Love. There was a part where Ryan Gosling takes him shopping, that area there. I don't know the name of the place. Anyway, I was just walking on the road, and I saw this nice, I believe it was a Ferrari parked on the side of the street. And I was just mesmerized, like looking, I'm like, man, this car is beautiful. And my dad looks at me and he goes, he kind of like chuckles. He goes, He goes, you like nice things? I said, yeah. He goes, then work hard. And then that was it, right? That was it, right? But anyway, back to the story. So I was like, I felt like I was doing something in my life. And I said to him, I said, but Dad, you think that I'm just here, like, you think I'm doing nothing? You think I'm just out here not really making any moves? You just think I'm just out here wasting my time? And I was serious. And he looked me in the face and he said, I have to be honest with you. I don't think you're doing anything. I have to be honest with you. I don't think you're doing anything. And it was painful. It was painful to hear that come from my dad. But I needed to hear it from him. You see, the difference is this. If somebody tells you the truth, and if that person that is telling you the truth, you don't respect their opinion, and you have no value for them as a person or whatever, they have no significance in your life, it's going to roll right off your shoulder. You're not going to pay any attention to it. But when it comes from someone that you respect, that you revere, the message is going to hit home. And I needed to hear that. I needed to hear it. I didn't get upset with him. I took it on the chin and I started doing some self-reflection. Now, are there times when I'm like, oh man, come here, daddy, come and give me her. Are there times, do we all want that? I don't care how old you are, any man watching this show. I don't care the age of the guy watching this show. No man, no matter your age, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, will say that, oh, I'm too man enough to give my dad a hug, or for my dad to say, hey, son, I'm proud of you, and it won't mean something. They're lying to you. They are lying to you. Has nothing to do with their age. Every man will want that validation from their parents. Every single, especially from their dad. Any man would want it. But that doesn't mean that what he told me that out of hate. He told me that because I needed to hear it in a tough way. And I needed to hear it, and it was the truth for me. And after he said that to me, I started to think, and then really started thinking of my life, lit a fire under me, and whatever. And then, later on the line, I go to wherever I go to. So there's nothing wrong with tough love. Absolutely nothing wrong. It all comes down to your level of sensitivity. Really, that's all we're talking about here. Let's just call it what it is. Most of the guys that don't want to get tough love are very, very sensitive and emotionally fragile. You know it's the truth. But we know this. As the fellows watching this particular show, we know what it is, bro. We know it. You can't deal with it because it hurts your feelings too much. Your ego's a little bit too fragile. Pops, uncle, big bro, big cousin, whatever, says something to you about getting your act together. All of a sudden, we got issues. The second thing I want to say in closing, I would rather my son be upset with me for telling him the truth than for him to be happy with me while I lied to him. I'm going to say it once more. I would rather the guy be upset with me for telling him the truth than for him to be happy with me because I continuously lie to him. I could care less. My job is to guide you. That's my job. I'm your pop first, then we can be friends after that. But as my sole responsibility is to tell you the damn truth. That's my sole response. And it's up to me to help you build the emotional confidence and strength to be able to handle the truth when I tell it to you. Because if you don't have that emotional stability, how in God's name, seriously, how in God's name, when you grow up and become a man, how are you supposed to lead a family when you're emotionally unstable? How are you supposed to do it? When the wind is blowing and it's knocking everything down, you're supposed to be the anchor. You're supposed to be the anchor. You're supposed to be the voice of reasoning. When your wife is doing this or your kids are, you're supposed to say, okay, everybody sit down. Let's talk about this. Everybody sit and let's talk about this. We can get through this. Let's solve this. But if you're just as emotional as everybody in the house, then you got a problem. There's nothing wrong with tough love as long as it's not excessive and abusive. And what Michael Wilbon said, nothing about that was excessive. And I read through the comment section and a lot of men agreed with him. A lot of men agree with him, and we need more tough love, because if we had more of that, maybe things would be different. Maybe. This message is not for everybody, but I'm giving you guys my honest take. We need to stop babying dudes. We need to stop, and I'm putting it at the men's feet first. I'm putting it at the men's feet first. Once we get our act together, they'll follow suit. We got to be the example. We got to be the example.